Hi everybody, that time again, Q&A. So we've been through a lot of the questions and comments you put in the comments box of all the different videos we've done, and we've picked out some that we can answer. There's a few we're still working on or waiting for answers back from on there. But as always, let's get cracking and get listed on there as well. Rules are, as we said before, we'll try and answer everything. Once we don't know, we'll go and find out. If I think something's wrong, and if it turns out I'm wrong, let me know in the comments box below, because I'm not don't know everything about all of the stuff. So first one has come from Kevin, and he's asked about a roof rack for a Grand California. Can one be fitted? Kevin, my understanding is the answer is no from a roof rack perspective, because obviously you've got the bulb, if it's the 600 on the front of it, that's on there as well. That's on there, but I am going to take that away and have a closer look at it for you, just to be on the safe side. But my understanding was that you couldn't put a rack system on, and I'm assuming by that you are meaning like something you could, for example, walk on, like a front runner type rack thing that's on there. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to that by that as well. So my understanding is no. From a weight perspective, I think is the problem that's on there as well, and also obviously probably getting to it. But obviously you probably have a ladder or something like that on the side, and a lot of the ladders generally go on the back doors to obviously get access to up and above that. But again, problem there is you've got the semi-high roof, whether you've got the 680 or the 600. So that answers that. If I get any more info on that, we will add that into the next Q&A session for you. Another one on from Grand California as well. This is from Keith. Hi Keith. It's on there. You've mentioned about a tow bar. If you have a tow bar fitted, factory tow bar fitted from the factory, can you still open the rear doors? And the answer to that is yes. You can still open the rear doors. I'm wondering possibly whether you might be thinking whether you've put something on the back of it. Obviously, depending on what you've hooked up to the back of it, you can do from on there. We've done videos looking at the factory tow bar on a Grand California in the past as well. It is quite a reasonable sized unit that's on the back of the vehicle that's on there as well, but you've still got full access to open the doors. Obviously, if you've got something like a bike rack that's on the back, that's on there, that's onto the tow bar, that might be a different story. But generally speaking, you can always get access to the rear doors if you've got a tow bar that's on the back. So hope that answers that question for you. Jacka, I hope I pronounced that right, has asked about the seats in the California. Do they fold forward? Now, I'm thinking that this is regarding whether they actually fold down. On some vehicles, for example, like the previous incarnation of the Caddy California, so before the current one, the one before that, for example, the seats on the front seats used to have this flop down function. So effectively, when you wanted to make the bed out, where now currently you have to twist them down to fold down. In the olden days, they had a cap and they would just flop forward. And I think that's what you mean. Now, that is not an option on the California, on the Ocean, or any of the derivatives down there down to beach. You don't have that function that's there as well. So those seats will swivel round, and that will allow you to put the backrest down to go against the back, but the actual seat itself will not flip back down. So that answers that question for you. So Lynn got a question here on the Multivan. Been asking about the tinting, whether you get tinted windows as standard, and yes, you do. So you get tinted windows as standard on the Life and the Style model, and those tinted windows are 65%, which I think you mentioned in your comment that's on there. You're 100% correct on that. So the tint is a 65% tint, which is standard on the vehicle. So that's pretty tinted. 65% doesn't sound like a lot, but in reality it is. You can definitely see that it's got that tint that's on there as well, so it's darker that's on there. You have got the option on the Style to move that up to 90% tint, and then obviously you lose like the windows, for example, that's on there, and it gives that really strong. Now 90% is quite a strong tint. You would be hard pressed to see inside at 90% tint that's on there. So in answer to your question, yes, you are correct that it comes standard with that 65% tint as standard on those vehicles that's in the rear, but it said you have the option to upgrade that to 90%. Now, I've done videos on tints before. You could leave it as having it at 65%, for example, and then you could look at then having it tinted again after that. You can have privacy tints where they actually put the layer on the inside of the window. So if you do get the vehicle, or you've got one, for example, and you say, actually, I want this to be darker than it is, that's something you can have done later on, obviously when the vehicle arrives. Very, very popular thing with Caddy Life, for example, where that, again, you can have it as an option to have tinted glass, privacy glass all the way around. A lot of vehicles don't come with it, but a lot of people do have it once the vehicles arrive then, and they get the tint depending on what their specifications are. So obviously then you can range from 65 all the way up to like 95 tint that's in there. You can even get 100% tint where you can't obviously see through it at all that's on there, but that's generally for things like rear tailgates and stuff like that. So that answers that question for you. While we're on the subject of Multivan, the next question is also about Multivan, and this is regarding the spin around function, and I think you're discussing here the individual seat. So obviously the Multivan's replaced the Caravelle, for all that you don't know, and the Caravelle had swivel seats, so there it was very much like the front seats on a Caddy, for example. We'd have a bar you press and the whole seat would swivel, so the base of the seat was fixed and then the actual seat itself would turn round. Now on the Multivan that's different, the actual seat does not swivel, so basically you have to unclip it, pick it up out of the vehicle effectively, turn it 180 degrees and lock it back into position. And then that will only turn one way or the other way. And that's only if you've actually got the options on the seat. So obviously now if you order from the factory, you can get a conference pack, which would have a 7-seat with those particular seats in, or on the older version, you have the 6-seat model would have those. And they are a particular seat. And the easy way to tell is that the seat belt is integrated into that seat. So if you see a vehicle and it's got single seats in it, but there's no seatbelt on the seat, those are the ones which fixed and they are not reversible, so you can't pick them out and turn them 180 degrees. It's only ones with an integrated seatbelt that will allow you to turn them round 180 degrees. And I'm sure you can probably work out why the reason for that is. Question on bike racks. Do Volkswagen do a 2-bike bike rack? The answer to that is yes and no. So the tailgate bike rack is only as a 4, so you get 4 bikes in there. Obviously, you can just put 2 on there. You don't have to put 4 bikes on there. You can just put 2 bikes on there. That's with that particular one. You can also put a storage and 2 bikes on that one, for example, that's there. And then the other alternative we do is we do the tow bar version, and there is a 2-bike version of that. So again, that's a one that goes on the tow bar. So for that, obviously, you need to have a tow bar and then the bike rack as well. But we do a 2-bike version of that, as well as a 3-bike version as well. 2 more questions to go. One is referring to the Multivan, and they've asked about whether sunroof is a standard on the vehicle. So sunroof is not standard on a Multivan, and when we use the word sunroof, for example, we usually refer to one that can actually open. So again, there is no opening sunroof available on any of the vehicles that we do within the range. That's been discontinued for quite a long time now, ones that actually open from on there. So the only sunroof type ones we do now obviously is the panoramic window version of it, so your window that's in there, and that is an option on the Multivan, as it is with the Caddy as well, that's in there as well. So it's a great feature, but it is not opening on that basis. That's just basically a glass panel in the roof. Done lots of videos on that as well, so check those out if you want to have a look through our feed, etc. I'm sure you'll be able to see it and get some information on that. And then final question, which is to do, I'm assuming, I think, to do with an Ocean or an SE, a variation of the California. And it's asking about the 240 supply. So scenario that was given was that the engine is running, so you're sat inside the vehicle, the engine is running, but you're not hooked up to electric on the back of the vehicle. And on that basis then, would the 240 supply or 220 supply work inside the vehicle? Answer to that is no, it would not. So the vehicle sockets that you get, which is on the side of the cabinet, so whether you've got an Ocean or whether you've got an SE or a Coast, for example, that's in there, that socket will only work if you've got mains plugged in on the side of the vehicle at the back. It's worth pointing out that if you had the engine running and you were plugged in at the back, the vehicle would be beeping its head off as well, because obviously it would let you know that you're still connected, so you don't drive away while connected to the vehicle, because obviously that would not be good. But just getting back to the question, that will only work when you're actually plugged into the vehicle at the side to give you that supply that's in there. Now, on both cases, on most of these vehicles, they do have the inverter socket. So on the 6.1, that's on the base of the seat in the front, and that is independent. So that is a transformer. So that's using power from your batteries and inverting it up to and changing it, transforming it to the 220, 230 volt range that's there, and that would work with the engine running. So I hope that kind of clears it up for you and gives you a definitive answer on that for there as well. So lots of good questions today. These are questions at the comments box. Keep them questions coming, and we will continue to do these Q&A sessions. And then obviously then again, if there's more questions come from the Q&A session, and it keeps rolling on and we can get those questions answered. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. As I said, we've got through some good questions that's in there as well. Keep them coming, and we'll see you next time.